Not gonna promote anything at the top of this video. However, if I did, then I would tell you that the links to both the Patreon and the Discord are in the description. But I'm not gonna do that. As we all have become increasingly and more painfully aware that we live in a more and more digital and social space than we ever have in the history of mankind. If you're me, you view one of the consequences of this as this notion or this idea that no matter who you are, you're probably at some point going to feel emboldened to give a take on something that you have little to zero information on. As soon as you start to type it up, you're like, this feels pretty good. I don't know. I think sometimes you just got to throw some shit at the wall and see if it sticks, and I'm just going to hit send. And then when that person inevitably gets dogpiled, which is like a different maybe social commentary, maybe a different conversation that we could have about dogpiling, maybe wait until it happens to you, then revisit it and see how you feel about it, that digital dogpiling. It can be a bitch, no pun intended. But even if this person says something incredibly dumb and they deserve it, ultimately it's kind of what you expect from just some guy on the internet, because that's not really exclusive to like today's problems, is having stupid people saying stupid things. Hell, if you went back a million years to when they were inventing the wheel, you probably had some guy standing on top of a mountain being like, it should be square. And you have to do to these people what you did to those people back then. Well, don't do what they probably like threw rocks at those people. Well, we'd like to throw rocks at those people if we could do it today. But for the sake of monetization, don't do that. At any rate, this is ultimately pretty inconsequential because some guy on the internet doesn't brand himself as like, the know-it-all. I mean, they do, but like there's no precedent for it and there's no validity to it, right? Ultimately, these are just dudes on the internet, guys who have a phone and an internet connection, and they can say whatever they want. But like the real problem here is if you look at somebody who brands themselves, hypothetically, not talking about anybody in particular, the worldwide leader in sports. Okay, that would make me assume that, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, around the clock, I am getting the latest and greatest sports information, news, and updates. And that means that if happenstance, I turn on one of those channels, I'm locking into the network and watching one of those shows, and I see somebody saying something as dumb as literally anybody could say on the internet. Like if you could just bring some guy in off of Twitter and put him in an ESPN studio, he would literally be saying the exact same things, if not even a little bit smarter, to the credit and the benefit of the dumb Twitter guy. Sometimes it's even better than what they're saying hypothetically on the worldwide leader of sports. The problem here is two things. One, this idea that nothing is objective anymore. Everything is subjective and can be open to conversation, or maybe this splitting of opinions. It's like, no, some things are just objective and sometimes you are just objectively wrong about things, and at some point there does have to be consequences for you, like being actually dumb on television if we are being led to believe that this is like the quintessential embodiment of a sports hub. This is like where you go for shit. And if you are giving these takes and they are always just objectively wrong, objectively speaking, what are we doing? Because this is the other problem with it, is as a consumer, having to use my brain all the time actually isn't that rewarding or fun for me. And as dumb as that sounds, give me just a second. If I'm watching the news, should I have to be worried that there is a line being blurred between news and entertainment? Can it just be news? Can I watch something thinking to myself, okay, this is just what's happening in the world. This is just what's happening in Ukraine, for example, right? This is an actual update. There's no spin. There's no agenda here. But you can't do that, right? You have to be concerned about some things like that. Hell, this is actually a perfect time. The whole Fox News lawsuit is actually a pretty good example here. And all that happened with them is they just got caught doing something that, as long as you're not a moron, you were able to see through from the second that it started happening, During their 2020 election coverage, they just lied. Anything that Agent Orange told them to say, anything that 45 went out there and accused these poll workers of doing, Fox News was going to eat it up. Rupert Murdoch was going to type down to his little cronies and be like, this is what we want Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson saying tonight, right? Even if they don't believe it, which, by the way, they didn't, that's what they had to say, because that drives ratings, right? That's ad dollars, that's subscribers, that's sponsors, that's advertisers, it's asses in seats, it's eyeballs on your show, because you're telling people what they want to hear. Not even that, but didn't Tucker Carlson a few years ago find himself in a similar lawsuit where he was like, if you consume my show as news, you're an idiot because it's clearly entertainment? Your fucking show is broadcasted on Fox News. If we seriously have to, let's go back to sports. I will not sit here and talk about Fox News. They're idiots. They've always been idiots. This lawsuit is the biggest nothing burger of all time because all that happened was they got caught doing something that literally everybody already knew that they were doing. And guess what's going to happen to them? Nothing, because there's no consequences for that stuff anymore. And this isn't like a commentary on like cancel culture and like how we need to like, there needs to be consequences for lying on television. Like, no, this isn't directly tied to like any specific thing, but it's incredibly frustrating to me that like it's, I'm not going to sit here and try to say it's different for me just because I'm some guy versus like ESPN saying something dumb on there. But like, in a sense it is, because at least I, advertise myself as a guy who has bad takes all the time and who frequently says dumb things about your favorite basketball player or your favorite basketball team. We're all prone to bad takes. That's not what I'm saying. But like this idea that you have these debate shows, which debate lords are a whole different video. That is a whole different thing. But you have these debate shows on any major sports network. This one is not exclusive to the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN. And while I couldn't assign a percentage to it in terms of how often this happens, you and I both know that it does, where somebody will get up there and they will start arguing something that you know for a fact that they do not believe, because whether it was the producer in their ear or somebody during the pre-production meeting, they handed the two guys a note and they said, this is what you are arguing today and this is what you are arguing today. Create some bullet points, or here is some bullet points to add credence or validity to your argument, and this is what it's going to be. Shocking to me that our attention is valued so little that we have to fabricate arguments in order to fill a fucking time slot. Maybe we don't have to go 5 days a week if there's not shit else to talk about. Maybe just cut the cord and go off the air. Because I would much rather watch reruns of like The Backyardigans than hear Guy X and Woman B talk about shit that they don't even believe. And another thing is like having to pander or cater to certain audiences who are feeling insecure about the way that things are going today. Case in point, like 2 days before LeBron broke Kareem's scoring record, ESPN goes up and is doing like a whole hour-long segment on like Michael Jordan's top 5 moments of all time, and like, is he still the GOAT? Grow the fuck up. You know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what time slot you're in, and you're just filling this void for all of these people out there who are like, LeBron's not my GOAT. I grew up in the prime of basketball in the late 80s and the mid 90s when shit was real and guys actually played defense. Grow the fuck up. Okay, in 20 years, I like to think I'll have the objectivity when the next guy comes along and he's better than LeBron. That's the new GOAT, right? That's the new guy, because as the sport evolves, dudes get fucking bigger. They get fucking better. As medicine advances, dudes can play longer. Shit like this happens. Shit gets real. Grow the fuck up. Another argument that you will frequently see about the people who are known for consistently having bad takes is, well, man, at least they're good at their job. Well, what do you mean they're good at their job? Well, they're good at their job because they draw ratings, right? They draw engagement. They invoke a reaction out of certain people. That's not fucking talent. That is like emotional gaslighting. Like, you're just inadvertently saying wrong shit because you know it's going to drive your SEO. You know it's going to drive your viewer retention. You know it's going to drive your click-through. That's not fucking real. That's not journalism. That's not good television. You're fucking lying. You're manipulating your viewers so that you can... It's just a means to an end. Why is that viewed as being good at your job? You're just a fucking liar. There is a guy, I obviously grew up in Michigan. I live in Chicago now, but I lived in Michigan my entire life, right? Until I moved here when I was like 21. and I'm almost 25. There's a guy in Michigan who, for a majority of my life, has had a pretty prominent spot on like the main radio station, sports radio station that we have in Michigan, is in the Detroit area. And that's kind of his whole shtick. That's his whole deal, is he's wrong all the time about the most mundane shit or the most real shit. And the only reason that I can muster up, that I can conjure that he does this, is because it keeps people coming back. It keeps people listening. It gets people on the phones, right? When they do their little caller segments. Oh, what do you got today, caller? Oh, you're an idiot because this thing. Oh, okay. Let's have a conversation about it. Hey, producer, that's a really good social breakout. Put this question on Twitter, pump it on Facebook, right? Pump it on IG. So that way we'll draw engagement and people can comment and repost it to their story and be like, look how stupid these people are, because they operate that all press is good press, right? Bad press isn't real. If we're getting pumped, we're getting fucking pumped. That shit is whack. That's so wild to me. This idea, again, that your attention is so valuable to them that they will do anything to keep it, right? Where like, and I'm not trying to say that I have any moral superiority or any moral high ground over these people, because ultimately I don't. I'm just some guy. I don't know anything. But you know what I do, if nothing else? I know how hard it is to retain people's attention, and the one thing I refuse to do is say something that I don't believe. Because as soon as you lose certain convictions just to retain a viewer's attention, what are you doing this for? I see it all the time. People who want to be YouTubers, people who want to be content creators just for the celebrity, right? To take over the world. You are going to fucking fail. Unless like your mom or dad is like, you know, the whatever of whatever, and you have the nepotism baby thing on your side. Congratulations. But like otherwise, you're going to fail, because that's not how this shit works. Until you get to that level, fucking apparently that's how it works. But until then, you actually have to try, right? You have to care about your viewer. You have to care about what you're pumping to them. And it's like, Nick, whatever it is that this is stemming from, is it that serious? Is it an overreaction? Honestly, my brother in Christ, I think it's that serious, because it is what we are consuming on a day-to-day basis. I realize, as I'm saying all of this in real time, I kind of sound crazy. I kind of sound a little bit paranoid. But at some point, is it not kind of frustrating to you that, like, again, I'm not saying that like I want to just be able to turn my brain off and watch something. Actually, yes, the fuck I am. I just said that out loud, and the way that I said that sounds insane. Of course I am. Because like there are things that, you know, there are certain shows that you can watch with the expectation that like, you know, man, they're just kind of going up there and chopping it up. Like they're just two guys at the bar or at the barber shop, right? Like they can just have some crazy takes, and it's funny because we're just kind of goofing around. We're horsing around. Those shows exist, but they brand themselves, they advertise themselves as such, right? And that is the key and crucial difference here. Because if you're going to put former players on a show, if you're going to put people who, and then include on their Chiron, their list of credentials, and they've written 30 books and they played 50 years and they coached for 19, and like their mom's womb was actually a basketball, like things like that, I'm expecting that this dude is going to come nothing but fastballs, right? This person is just going to. So when that person goes up there and bats like 150, that feels pretty bad. It feels not that great. Even like, and respectfully, you know, if you read a lot of these insider tweets, you know, Woes, Shams, I'm not disparaging Shams. Shams is technically a coworker, so I'm not going to do that. But any of these little insiders, you know who's pumping that information? You know who's feeding them that shit? A lot of the time it's agents. So a lot of the time, even then, there's like a little bit of a spin on things, right? There's that little bit of kind of blurring the line. And that's, I guess, kind of a different beast. And I don't really want to get into that because there's kind of I kind of get where that falls in its place. I'm upset and I'm disappointed by this. And I hope that, you know, I didn't alienate anybody here. Well, unless the Fox News thing upset you. Then you can get fucked, and I don't care about you at all. Okay, well, all right, Nick, settle down. I care about you, but you're an idiot. I guess I just wish that we as a collective could hold major networks responsible for things, these major news corporations responsible for things that, you know, there's really just no accountability. I just wish I could grab you all by the shoulders and be like, your attention matters, you know?